Hey guys, I just realized that my Summit's been in a couple of videos and I've never really actually given anybody a walk around on this thing. So it's not a new Summit, it's an old Summit. It's been around the block a few times, but it's the one that I've used for a while. It's got a semi-custom body on it. Took the exo cage off of the original body. Made some plastic panels from some jugs I had laying around the house. Just kind of made my own thing. I like it. Kind of reminds me of an old Blazer or Bronco or something. Anyhow, we were doing some bashing through the snow earlier this week, and at the end of the video it was starting to make a squeak. All my hub seals are cracked and broken from the cold. So what I'm going to do today is show y'all how to get one of these hub seals off and reseal it. Okay, what you're most likely going to need to do this job is a 5mm hex wrench, flathead screwdriver, a 17mm socket for the center hub bolts, a 2, 2.5, and 3mm hex. So let's get to it. First thing you need to do is take a wheel off. Pretty simple. On the Summit, it's just a nut, holds the wheels on. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got your wheel hex that holds your wheel tight, keeps your wheel on. There is a very small 2mm nut in this. It runs straight through. We take it loose. Then, as you can see, there are rubber seals on the top and the bottom that we need to get loose. What I'm going to do there is use a very small flathead screwdriver, or you can use a pick or something. You get in behind them and just pop them out. They'll look like that. Now, you take the 5mm hex that you have. There will be these small plastic inserts to take out on the top and the bottom pivots. This is so that you can get to the inner screw that actually does hold the pivot on. Once you get those off, there is another pivot ball up in there that you have to get loose. It is the 2.5mm, and it's always at an angle, so you kind of have to work around to get to it. Just take the top one. They may or may not fall out, like that one did. And then you take the bottom one. Now, as you can see, that takes the pivot section almost completely loose. The only thing left is your steering arm here. Go back to the 2mm. Take that loose. And then your pivot assembly is completely loose, except for the center drive shaft. Now, as you can see, there's a hole here where the pin went through, and I found most of the time that that pin will develop a small lip around where the pin goes through that makes it very difficult for the drive shaft to slide through this front bearing. So what I usually do is I take a small file and I just hit the edges all the way around it. Then we turn it. And I hit the edges on the other side. If you try to take this off and it won't slide past, you will need to use Scotch-Brite or something and do the same thing. And that is the pivot assembly off. They call it, some people call it the C-hub. But these are my seals here that are broken. As you can see, they're completely annihilated from the snow and the ice. Now is also a good time to check your bearings. There's a front and a rear bearing. Both of these feel good. And a really good time to check your drive shaft boots. This one, as you can see, busted, not so good. These are supposed to be glued to where you can only stretch the drive shaft out a certain amount and they flex with the drive shaft. So that'll have to be replaced also. Now let me do all four of them. Here's the results, folks. All four C-hubs have busted or completely gone boots. The boots are torn up, old, just completely torn. I have boots torn on every single drive shaft, and there's really only one cure for this, and that's a quick trip to the parts store. Alright guys, it's time to go on to cleaning. Haven't seen a whole lot of RC people go into the cleaning part of this, but I believe it's pretty important. What we're going to want to do is pop out all your bearings, because you're not going to want to get those wet. Remove all the seals, anything you can from these hubs. Just pop them in some soapy water. Just any kind of dish soap or anything that's a grease remover will do. There's several brand names of grease removers out there, but I just usually use dish soap. Bearings are pretty easy to push out. Make sure you push them from the back side, and they'll just usually slide right out. Not too much hassle. I'm going to clean just any residual dirt and grease from them. We'll wash them here, clean some here, and lay them out to dry. Alright, here we are back with the C-hubs cleaned, bearings reinstalled, ready to go. The kit that Traxxas gives you, each one of these kits for sealing does 2 C-axles, so you'll have to have 2 kits for the entire Summit. What comes in the kit is all the rubber seals, the clips, and the blocks for the pivots that screw back in. You have a choice of black or blue clips for the boots. Got some lightweight oil here. We're going to take one of these C-hubs, install the blue rubber seals on the back side, and y'all shouldn't take anything I do as a professional advice or opinion. This is just me working on my stuff. I don't know if anything that I do is right or better than anyone else's, so just you know, this is just for information purposes, entertainment, nothing more. The little clips, make sure you get them centered up around the blue seal, and they'll just clip in. And there you go. That's the back rubber boots installed with their clips on. Now, the pivot balls, what I'm going to do is take a little bit of some very lightweight oil and put on the threads for when I put it through. Install the holding block with the tabs out. You can usually screw these in with your fingers, but if not, you can use the tool and just get your threads lined up and push down. Make sure that you get the boot down past the threads. Do the same thing with the other pivot ball. that's one done. And while I'm here, we'll go ahead and get one of our drive shafts glued up. I've got the rubber boots installed on all the drive shafts. We just have to make sure that they are completely seated against their stop all the way around. Then I'm going to take some cleaning alcohol. Got this from the local drugstore. It's 91%. Just clean it very well, both sides. Get rid of any excess dirt, grease, grime, anything that could have gotten on it. Give them a wipe with a clean, dry rag. And then I've just got regular CA glue. Some people have specialized hobby glues that they use. I just don't have that right now. So we're just going to take regular super glue. Just make a small bead all the way around. Make sure you get some on the plastic and some on the book. We'll do it on the other side. All right, we set that aside to dry. And we're going to do the other ones and get them all done. All right, here we are with reassembly of the C-knuckles onto the actual Summit. When I'm going to be doing a rear one for you today, because they're a little bit different, as you can see that they have 2 positions per A-arm, and what I've always done is just put them back where they came from. You can see, if you look really close, which screws have been used and which ones haven't. So we're just going to put it back like it was. And also, when you're putting these C-hubs back on, you're going to want to find one that has the steering arm low and to the rear. That goes on the front. It goes the same for the front as well. Go low and to the rear. If you get the wrong one on there, it's going to be high and to the rear, and that's not correct. It will not work that way. So we're going to go ahead and install one of these. Go ahead and get the drive shaft started into the C-knuckle. Make sure that it's in there and wants to be centered up. Get your hex on your ball stud on the inside and tighten just a little. Same with the bottom. Get it nice and centered up and tighten just a little. While the studs are not tightened, we're going to put just a little bit of blue Loctite on each one because we do not want these coming back loose. You may have to pull up just a little bit on your A-arm to get a good square drive on your pivot balls. Just turn them in until they're tight. Always make sure that your drive shaft is still not bound up. You're going to do the same thing with the bottom one. All right. Now, I always put just a little bit of lubrication in here because it is a pivot. I don't know if that's right or correct, but that's what I do. So I just put a very small amount of lubrication in there. And then we can restart our plastic caps. And you want to screw these in not super tight. I don't know if you can see this on camera or not, but that is quite a bit of looseness, and you just want to tighten these until that looseness is gone. That is pretty tight, but you don't want them too tight because you don't want the suspension binding up. You want good suspension travel and good turning travel, especially for the front. The back doesn't matter for the turning very much, but you can always come and readjust these later if they're a little loose once they wear in, but you just want to make sure that you don't have any play front to back. We can come back, put our steering arm back on. Actually, I'm going to pull that back out and just run a tiny bit of blue Loctite on that also. Nice and tight. You don't want to over tighten any of this stuff because you're tightening into plastic, and plastics can strip out if you're not careful. We're going to reinstall our rubber plugs for these plastic blocks on the outside here, and sometimes these can be a little bit of a pain. Just have to get something small down in there and kind of go around the edges and they'll go right in. All right, now we can reinstall our wheel hicks. And make sure that your wheel hicks hole is lined up with the hole in the axle. Just a little bit of blue Loctite on that also. And just tighten until it's tight. And with your reinstall wheel. Get the correct one for the side. Slide. Well, before I do that, I'm going to take a little blue Loctite on these wheel nut hexes also, because I personally have had a problem with these loosening up and trying to strip the hex off the wheels. So I put a little blue Loctite on that also. And there you go. Tight, installed, no looseness, all brand new boots. All right, well, here it is, done and ready to test with all brand new seals and boots. Let's do a little bench test real quick.